Welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College. And today my guests are Donna Hylton, who is a professor here in a whole variety of fields. Do you want to just list them off, because I would lose track? I know there's computer figures heavily in your fields.
It does. So I am responsible for two computer-related degrees. One is the Computer Information Technology degree. The other is the Management Information Systems degree, MIS and CIT. And there are related certificates that are connected with that, such as Software Development, Help Desk Certificate, and a Networking Certificate. And I'm also responsible for the Health Information Management degree.
And that is electronic medical records.
Exactly.
That's a whole huge field all on its own.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, so thank you for joining me today. And we also have a student named Frank Natter.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. And we have lots to talk about. So maybe we could go over the list of things we want to talk about, and then we'll expand on them a little bit later. So the first thing is the e-cycling event, an annual event.
Yes.
And e-cycling is, why don't you tell me?
Okay, so the e-cycling event is an electronic recycling event that is sponsored by the Middlesex Computer Club in partnership with Green Monster.
Maybe we can just go on a little bit, and then we'll get to Frank and the Technology Fest, and we have all these other things happening. But the Green Monster has a commitment to zero landfill.
Yes, they do have a zero landfill policy. So the products that they collect are actually used for manufacturing new products. They're not ending up in a landfill anywhere. And in addition to that, they are using methods that are Department of Defense compliant with respect to handling your data. So people are really concerned about bringing their old computers to an event like this because they're concerned about what will happen to my information. Will it fall into the wrong hands? Well, this company has listed statements on their website that really speaks to their commitment to protecting your data, protecting your privacy, protecting your security. And so they're going to take measures to make sure that your hard drive contents are destroyed using methods that have been approved by the Department of Defense.
What kinds of things go into a computer what do they extract out of it? What kind of metal?
Well, they're extracting metal. They're separating out the metal. They're glass. There's plastic, and we don't want those kinds of products to end up in the landfill because they're hazardous when they start to break down. But those same materials can then be used if separated out and properly reprocessed. They can be then used to make new electronics or new products of various types.
Are there electronics manufacturers in the U.S., or does that mostly go overseas? I'm curious. You see these sort of boards, with, Frank's nodding too, little boards. I actually don't understand how it works.
Well, I don't know if I could answer that question with any authority, but I would imagine a lot of electronic components are built not in the U.S.
and then
and assembled, in some companies are assembling them here, yeah.
Right. So they're not, probably many of them not made by machines, but actually by human workers who are putting various, parts of the board together so that they're linked and sending electric signals to each other. So it's really complicated.
It is complicated, but I believe that some of that is going to be also handled by computerized manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that it's humans that are actually putting it together.
Especially the brain, the CPU has to be, because the circuits are like microscopic, very small. Yeah. So computers have the lasers and have to make those.
Right. Well, and we have to take our break, the standard break we always take. So let's take that and come back, and I want to just say a few more things about that, and then we'll go on to other topics on our agenda. Okay, well, we're back. And I was just talking with Donna Hylton and Frank Natter about how tiny the thumb drive was that somebody brought to a presentation the other day. And it had to have been maybe a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square with a little probe that you put into the computer, and his entire presentation was on there. Yeah, long ago and far away in olden times when it was like these processing units would fill whole rooms and had to be super air conditioned because they threw off so much heat.
Not anymore.
Yeah, right.
Not anymore. How far we've come.
I know. So another one of the events that we have coming up here at Middlesex Community College is the Tech Fest 2016. And that is, first of all, importantly, free and open to the public. But you've made a very strong effort at encouraging and inviting high school students to come. Our own students are going to be involved in our alums. And Donna, if you would talk about it a little bit, I just want to pause and go back to Frank for a moment, because you're a double alum. We will be featuring alumni here. But you graduated from here and went on and got a different degree at another school.
That's right. Many years ago, I did general studies here and then transferred to Central Connecticut and got a BA in music composition. So I'm happy to be back now and exploring this other passion in my life having to do with computers and technology. And I hope to incorporate the two together.
Yeah, to integrate them, because there've got to be a lot of obvious connections between them. I just think you're such a great example of what I meet many people like you who come here and do one thing and then a little later come back and do another thing, and you can keep cycling through. I wonder what you might do next. Let's see if you're interested in veterinary technology. Your next career.
The music actually led me to this. I mean, while studying composition, I did both electroacoustic music composition and traditional acoustic instrument composition. And then when I was done and I looked further, I saw there was a lot of programming composers, and I realized I didn't know a lot about it, and started to study it on my own. And then I was like, well, I know a good place that I can go, So then I looked into Middlesex.
That's it's always good to hear. At the moment, there, as there always are, so it's not just at the moment, any library will always have a rack out in front of things that they're de-accessioning. That's the euphemism for getting rid of. And right now, there are 4 or 5 stands full of vinyl records, and they all say free, take whatever you want. And I've had to drag myself past that because I want to stop. But vinyl, there's a little bit of a renaissance interest in vinyl. You have to have a phonograph for that.
Of course, yeah.
So what do you say about the difference between the quality of music that was recorded on vinyl compared to the electroacoustic
Well,
world?
I mean, as our computers handle, bigger bit lengths and they have more and more processing power, you can record at higher and higher qualities. So after a while, I think the audio, like the difference between an analog signal, which just captures every dip and turn of a wave, and a digital signal that just takes samples of a wave and then kind of our ears fill in the blanks. I mean, as the technology gets, as we can zoom in more and more and take more and more samples, I think the difference is not that noticeable. Although there is a little bit. There's obviously like more in the analog signal, but it's just something that I don't think when it comes to creating music, we're gonna totally get rid of analog, because analog is obviously what's happening in real life with instruments.
I'm just always mystified by how they figured out how to record things. I actually have an old wind-up phonograph in my house that my grandparents had, and they're Edison records, and the records are thick, and I don't know. I mean, if I've not tried to play them, because I assume the needle will have an impact on the grooves on those records, but I mean, Thomas Edison was the label. That's just so remarkable. And now we're snatching little bits of sound. And I didn't know this, that the ears are filling in what's not there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good thing we got these ears that work so effectively. Now I want to understand more about ears. But now let's stop talking about that for a moment and go to Tech Fest. So Donna, tell us about it.
Okay, for Tech Fest will be held on May 18th. This is our very first event of this kind that the Computer Club will be sponsoring. And what we're hoping to do is to put on a technology fair for future IT professionals. We're inviting high school students to come. We're inviting alum to come back to talk about their successes in IT. And of course, members of our Computer Club will be also instrumental in putting on workshops. So our slogan for Tech Fest is harness the passion, unlock the potential. And what we're saying in that is many times students will be drawn to technology and explore various fields like Frank and music because of a passion that they have, because of an interest. And that can really lead them down a path to future discovery. They may discover new careers. They may discover just new skills. And so many of our students, when we sit and talk with them, they express a real interest and a real passion in pursuing technology, and that's really opened many doors for them. Even the aspect of gaming with technology. So the interest in gaming and technology can open doors for a career in game development, or even leveraging that to become a game entrepreneur, like some of our students are pursuing right now. So Tech Fest will be held on May 18th from 9 to 1, free to the public. Registration is encouraged. We have a website where they can go to register. And Frank is coordinating the workshops that will be presented by our computer club members, so perhaps you can speak to that.
Yeah, so tell us about what somebody coming to this Tech Fest might find.
Well, the workshop portion is going to have a couple presentations on programming, game programming, using the different environments to create games and programming the different components. There's going to be an electronics demonstration and showing how you can take these little components and kind of what you were speaking to before and put them together, but then interface them with a computer and control them in different ways. There's going to be a computer building workshop where the students will get to see the different components and how they come together, the hard drive, the CPU, and how it all is assembled. And then there's going to be a workshop on programming for digital artists.
Yeah, I was thinking that graphic arts would have a connection with all of this.
Sure.
So let me go back to the computer piece. So how many pieces are in a computer, roughly?
Oh, well, what are the main pieces? You need the CPU, which is like the master processor, kind of in the analogy to a brain, right? You need storage space. You need the hard drive. These days, hard drives, not necessarily the spinning disks anymore. There's solid state hard drives and that's part of the reason why the flash drives can be these little tiny things, because it's a different technology. There's memory that when you load a program, the program has to go into sort of active memory. It takes all the information and it brings it to that kind of memory, which we call RAM. So your computer needs RAM, and then it needs the other hardware and peripherals and stuff that the user can interface with, like the mouse and the keyboard or the touch screen or the optical drive, the printer. These other components that are sort of like the in and out kind of input-output kind of thing for the user.
So there used to be a movement afoot, and maybe some people on the planet still speak it, of a language called Esperanza, and it was a language that was invented that would be a universal language. It borrowed a little bit from every language that was spoken on the earth. I always thought it was such a great idea. So when you construct a computer out of all these component parts, do they more or less, are they Esperanza-like? Can you take one brand from one place and another brand from another and put them together and make them work?
To a certain extent, there's mostly...
It's not Esperanza, it's Esperanto.
Esperanto,
Yes,
okay.
yeah, Esperanto, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Esperanza means hope. Well, I would hope that there would be Esperanto. Okay,
yes.
So yeah.
Not totally across the board, but there's just, it has a lot to do with the different kinds of processors. There's a few different manufacturers of processors, and the components need to be able to talk the language of the processor.
Right.
So, and to that extent, yes, they're somewhat interchangeable. These parts, they speak only a few different languages.
And Mac and yeah, right, good. And Mac and PC now more or less work together?
More than ever, because Macs have been using Intel processors. So yes, to these days you can even install Windows on a Mac.
Yeah, it's just so much to know and to learn. All right, we have to take another one of those breaks, and we will be back, and we'll pick it up from there. We'll be right back. Well, we're back. It's Middlesex Moments radio show. Donna Hylton, who teaches all these things related to computers, and you can ask her any question. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll find it out, right? That's what a good teacher always says.
Absolutely.
And Frank Natter, who's a double alum and a current student and a musician and a computer doc and student but a coordinator of our tech center. So what happens in the tech center?
So the Technology Center. So the Technology Center is sort of an arm of the MxCC Computer Club. And the idea is a couple things with the Tech Center. One is we offer free services to the MxCC community. People can come in, they can get, well, first of all, we really try to stress the Office 365 suite that's available to all students through their student account. We try to promote that. We try to get people set up with that. So we do that Office 365 installation. We'll diagnose and remove malware from people's computers. We'll just do general tune-ups, to speed up their computers, make them more secure. We'll diagnose and do hardware repair, broken screen or keyboard malfunction or something. We'll do data backup if people need some, they want their computers backed up. We'll rescue data if their operating system fails, and then of course recover data if their operating system fails. So other things, various other things when it's in our, ability to do so.
It sounds, yeah, it's a little bit like the computer Red Cross, right? So you can
Yes.
come in and deal with any disaster.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the most interesting disaster you've dealt with in the last couple of months.
Well, one really rewarding situation was a student who had a laptop that was basically functional, but just the screen was black, and she brought it somewhere, and, they would say, oh, this was going to cost such and such, and which, just a bench fee, could be pretty expensive. So, our services are free at the tech center. So she came and, really just opened it up and, took it apart and put the connectors back in together, because really it was just a simple thing where the connectors, weren't secure. Secured it back up, gave her back. She was very happy. She was actually so happy she actually bought the computer club some pizza.
Oh, yeah, wonderful. So I can't imagine taking a screwdriver to a laptop and taking it apart. You had to take it apart.
Yeah.
To get inside of it.
And it's really tedious to take the laptop especially. I mean, a desktop computer, an old-fashioned traditional desktop computer is pretty easy to take apart, but now things are very compact, and so a laptop, you take it apart, you have to be very, very careful because things are plastic. It's not screwed together; it's kind of clipped together, so it's a tedious job.
Can you take an iPad apart?
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can.
Does anybody ever do that? I mean,
you can change the screen and stuff like that
you?
on an iPad. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you get parts?
Well, that's the tricky part. We don't really have a stockpile of parts,
Right.
and we can't really buy parts. We don't have funds to buy parts. But what we will do is we will sit with the student and assist them in figuring out how best to acquire the parts, and then they would make the purchase.
Right.
So Frank doesn't really work alone. He's the coordinator of the center, but we also have another student who's the vice president of our computer club, and he works as our senior technician. And together they work hand in hand to make sure that the repairs are done. And I must say that they've done an amazing job servicing not just students, but faculty and staff right here on our campus. And they have even integrated a ticketing system within the Technology Center so that we don't rely on paper for tracking repairs. But when people bring their computers for repair, Frank then enters it into our tracking system, and we keep track of it that way. And notices are sent via email from the tracking system to let clients know that their work is ready for pickup. And we're keeping track of all of our repairs from semester to semester so that we can keep a reporting of what we've been doing.
So I'm looking at you and wondering, how do you keep current on all of this? I mean, the Tech Fest would be great for people who are just kind of curious about a field and they'll see examples of what can happen. But how do you keep current?
Well, it's challenging because technology changes so rapidly. So you have to know how to learn and how to go after resources. There's a lot of resources online, so if there are new things that you don't know, you can Google, watch a video. We're actually pleased to say that we are anticipating bringing into the Tech Center a product called lynda.com, which is an online training tool that will give just tons of video training courses on various aspects of technology. And we want to provide this service so that when students come to the Tech Center, it's not just about offering service, but they can also use that place to acquire knowledge and to keep their skills up and do like everybody else in the industry who's trying to keep up with the pace of change, is learning how to learn.
Right. So what do you think is on the horizon for, touchscreens, for example, was a huge breakthrough. So what's the next big breakthrough, do you think?
That's a really good question.
I mean, there's a lot of, experimentation with like gesture control, I mean, like there's things you can just like wave your finger and like touch the screen. I mean, optical, like retina tracking. I mean, I think our user interface is going to change drastically, in the next 20 years,
Sure. Then voice recognition software.
Voice recognition. I mean, that's
already there.
That's like really, the last, I don't know how many years, but last 5 years or so, that's really got up to a pretty high level. So that's going to be another major way, I think, to interact with computers. So,
and of course, computers in cars, right? So obviously, MapQuest and things like that. But the cars that you don't even have to steer anymore. Google's doing.
There is such a thing. Yes.
There are self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars. Yeah.
That's another big wave.
Yeah.
And there's something called the Internet of Things that's really moving us to have this interoperability between our appliances and our smart devices, so that you can stay here in the office, for example, and using your smartphone, you may be able to set your oven to go off because you're now interconnected, and so your oven will bake your roast for an hour or something like that. Doesn't that sound like fun?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I think I saw a commercial on television where a woman was sitting in her office with her smartphone, and a deliverer came to the door, and she said, and rang the doorbell, and it rang on her phone, and she said, you can leave the box right there by the door.
Absolutely. That's already in place.
Yeah.
All of this technology already exists.
Yeah. So do you find, you must find that students are immensely intrigued and curious about this because you yourself are immensely intrigued and curious about it.
Yeah, and for me, I've been in this industry since 1978. So to see where it is now compared to where it started, where even as a college students, we were using key punch machines,
yes.
Yes. to type in our programs. It's very fascinating to see how much it has changed, but it's sometimes a little bit scary to see how fast it changes. So, you really have to make a concerted effort to keep up with the pace of things.
Right. I actually want to jump on a soapbox. As a college administrator, right, I guess that's what I would be categorized as. I often read about administrative bloat in higher education. So we're taking, resources away from the classroom where it should be, and I have no argument with that. And we're just building these just legions of administrators who are sitting at their desks doing whatever they might do. But I just read a really interesting book called Lesson Plan by William Bowen and Michael McPherson, and they take that argument on, and they say, and this goes exactly to what you were just saying, when you think about the American University in 1978 and the one that we're now in 2016, one of the huge revolutions has been that everything is online. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a Blackboard learning platform for your classroom, that's online. And when I want to know what street you live on, and I look you up in our student information system, and that's online, and then a bazillion other things. And that doesn't just happen by accident. That's because we hire people who work to make us all in an electronic universe, and that's been a huge expansion in higher education. Way, way beyond the old index cards that, you would go to the library. You maybe don't even remember this. Go to the library and pull out a drawer and flip through cards to find a book by an author whose name you hoped you remembered. And now I can go into the computer and I can be completely off. Like I was trying to remember quantum physics, right? Mm-hmm. Couldn't remember the name, but I could remember a little bit, and I can put it in, and ultimately I'll find it.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
So what we've done is we've really made our whole community dependent on technology.
So we are 100%, and if the electricity goes down, for example, help us.
Yeah. And so we also make an assumption that students will have the resources to access all of this, and not everyone does. I think that's one of the reasons why the computer giveaway event that we host every fall is such an important thing for us, because a student who is trying to survive in this kind of college environment without a computer of their own or without access to the internet will not succeed. That's key. And for some people, even the acquisition of a simple laptop is a little bit too much. So every year we give away computers, and we're fortunate in that we've also had the partnership of the Middlesex community faculty and staff, and even an outside partner, Peach Pit Foundation, who came alongside for 2 years in a row and said, we will help you put those resources in the hands of students, because without it they will not be successful in this day and age.
That's exactly right. It's like an old loose leaf notebook and a pencil without a computer. I don't know how you could. Well, we couldn't operate a modern university, and you couldn't really operate in this world that we live in without. So every student should be in your program. I think that's the conclusion here. What do you think, Frank?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So are you going to recruit all these young high school students to think about careers in the computer industry?
Well, the idea is to spark their interest, and if they have passion, yes, invite them in.
So let's repeat again the date of this thing, so that, because it's not just high school students, it's anyone of any age, right? Mm-hmm. Because even folks my age and older are interested in computers.
Anyone's welcome to come down. It's May 18th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Here at Middlesex, which is 100 Training Hill Road
in Chapman Hall.
And it's in Chapman Hall. That's right.
I'd like to just add that we're also having a corporate partner who is coming in. Cigna will be coming here, and they'll be talking about a specific program within their company that seeks to recruit and promote technology talent. So they'll be here. Good. We'll also bringing in about 4 of our student alumni that will be speaking about how they've launched their careers in IT from our college. And we're also bringing in a startup company that was started by some students over a summer. Students at Wesleyan University started this little business because of their interest and passion in technology, and they've launched a startup company that does special career services. So they'll be coming to talk about that as well.
It's going to be a really great day.
I think so. It will be exciting to hear all of this, and coming from people who are just discovering all that technology has to offer.
So May 18th, 2016, 9 to 1, Chapman Hall, on the campus of Middlesex Community College. Frank Natter and Donna Hylton, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And for all the people in the listening audience who want to learn more about us, really the best way is to go on the web with their computer and find us at mxcc.edu. This is Anna Wasesha wishing you all a very good day.